Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stu again, and I am back at the Victor Valley Brightline West station site for your 2026 update. Let's go. We're going to start off in Rancho Cucamonga, California at the future Brightline West Southern California station site. Nothing is happening there except for Metrolink trains pulling in and out of the station. However, we have confirmation from Tipster Munster on the Discord server that the Clark-McCarthy joint contracting venture to build the SoCal station site has leased office space nearby. The eyes and ears of the Lucid Stu network extend far and wide. Let's give a big early thanks to the Discord server. If you'd like to join our motley crew, check out the invite in the description. While we're off topic, also check out my poster store for a great railroad-related holiday gift. Everything is 30% off through the end of the year. Back to Rancho Cucamonga, I gathered some additional footage of the station that I was lacking and then headed off on Interstate 15 North. I have confirmed with mine own eyes that there is no Brightline West construction activity anywhere in the I-15 right-of-way at this time. You may see a thing or two that will get you wondering. Let's clear those up real quick. In Rancho Cucamonga around Foothill Boulevard, that is a freeway express lanes extension project, not Brightline West. Up in the high desert, you have a bunch of K-rail and a big space in the median. That's from a completed freeway repaving project. The space left over is for Brightline West, but nothing is happening in it at this time. While we're there, we will pass the Hesperia station site. The platforms will be in the freeway median, but the station will be just west of the freeway. There is nothing happening there. Next up, we have a crew working around the Victor Valley station site, but they are working on an informational display sign and not Brightline West. We opened the video at Victor Valley, but nothing is currently happening there either. On my journey, I was trying to stay behind a storm that was dumping rain in the desert, so I hung out in Barstow a little and filled in some gaps of my before footage there. The Barstow Viaduct will be one of the first things started in California, but again, no activity there. Eventually, I did catch up to the storm going up the Halloran grade between Baker, California and the California-Nevada state line. Although rain is unusual there, it does happen every year, and I've even seen it snow in this area. That was at Mountain Pass, which is the highest point on the route at 4,700 feet. Coming down from that into Nevada, we have Ivanpah Lake, where I was treated to an even more unusual sight. The normally dry lake bed actually had water in it. There were no impacts to the freeway from this flooding, but it brings up the subject, could this affect Brightline West? In the 80s, enough water entered this lake to overtop Interstate 15. That was a very unusual event. Brightline West tracks will be elevated above the freeway, so it should be near impossible for those tracks to flood because of this intermittent lake. That was an exciting event, and I rushed to get my drone into the air to capture it, but I needed to be moving on to my flight authorization appointment at the Brightline West Las Vegas station site. On previous trips, I flew in nearby zones where I could get instant approval. The area directly above the Brightline West Las Vegas station site is restricted without prior consent. I put in for it a month ahead of time and got it 3 weeks later. Little did I know it would be raining cats and dogs that day, but the clouds serendipitously parted around my flight window and I was able to get into the air without worrying about rain destroying my drone. So without any further ado, let's check out the Las Vegas station site in greater detail. Here we are at Las Vegas Boulevard, 3 miles south of the Strip, where they are working on a storm drain culvert and sewer under the street. You can see the storm water running through the site from the storm that had just passed. This sunken area here is roughly equivalent to the pedestrian plaza in this rendering Brightline West put out a little while ago. I'm going to use that as reference. That would place the station directly ahead. The building on the right that is being constructed does not appear to be the station. Now that we're closer, you can see an elevator core, you can see concrete columns. There are vast concrete surfaces and there are ramps between levels It's safe to say this will be a parking garage. Here you see staged materials so they can get back to work once the rain stops. The area on the left is the temporary worker parking they set up several months ago. Near that are the construction site offices. The access road from there to the street is bordered by a fence and marks the northern extent of the property. That is marked on maps as El Dorado Road and will presumably be one of two major access roads into the finalized site. That will come to a junction with Las Vegas Boulevard at one of the access points for the Las Vegas Premium Outlets complex across the street, probably at a light. The other access road is Robindale Road, which may become a signaled cross street at Las Vegas Boulevard. The distance between those two is about the length of the planned station platforms. The southern extent of the property is along the old Blue Diamond interchange with Interstate 15. It's unclear what they plan to do with the area between Robindale and there. That's about 40% of the total property. The area between the freeway and the parking structure is where the island platform will be located. They do appear to be working on or near that. The platforms will be 1,400 feet long, and as we pan, you can see that the work doesn't extend that far yet. As we pan back to the elevator core, you can see this will be a 5-level structure with 1 level out of view below ground level. In the rendering, parking appears to be a vast 2-story subterranean structure with a bus and resort shuttle depot on top. My conclusion is that the rendering differs from what they're actually building, which isn't a shock. The rendering is likely a decent guide for general layout because certain things must go certain places, like the platforms. Specific details are likely inaccurate. This is a 110-acre site. That's about the same size as the Mandalay Bay Resort and Convention Center, which is one of the largest by land use in the entire area, so it's a formidable property in terms of potential development. The station facilities will only consume about 20 acres of that. Brightline West hasn't revealed publicly what they plan to do with the rest, outside of the renderings, which feature low office or retail buildings in some of that space. You'll notice there is no parking structure in this rendering, so clearly it's to be taken with a grain of salt. There is a small natural creek that runs through the site. It is normally dry. Here by the freeway, that was clearly not the case on November 18th, which was an unusually rainy day. It does not appear that the storm and resulting runoff caused any real damage. Looking at its current state, it's difficult to tell what their plan is for the drainage. Will they leave that as an open naturalistic feature through the site or replace it with covered culvert? That is unknown. From the look of the rendering, it will be culvert, but we've established the rendering is probably not accurate. I contacted Brightline West for further information and they have nothing new to share at this time. Currently, that creek is channelized a block to the east, then runs semi-natural for a mile before going back into channel and ultimately dumping into the Las Vegas Wash. As we continue to fly around the site, let's discuss major developments that have occurred over the last year. The biggest, the price went up to $21.5 billion. They were talking about $8 billion as recently as 2023. That's a lot more to cover. They want to get a $6 billion loan from the federal government under the Railroad Rehabilitation and Improvement Financing Program. That would cover most of the amount that they're short right now. There hasn't been any word on that since that news dropped at the beginning of October. At that time, they also pushed their completion date back to September of 2029. Frankly, before 2030 would be a surprise at this point given their 4-year construction timeline. They had a bond sale earlier in the year that went great, but that was when everyone thought the thing was going to cost $12 billion. They're signing contracts right now for the various construction pieces. Last I'd heard, they've signed 5 of 9. As we're seeing, they've started construction, however, not in the right-of-way, which is the most important part. It's hard to have a train without tracks. Ask California High-Speed Rail. Brightline West does have about $6 billion to work with currently. However, they need to show financing for the entire project before Nevada will let them build in the I-15 median. That brings us to our next subject, Sloan, Nevada. Sloan is 7 miles south of the Las Vegas station site and is the intended location of Brightline West's vehicle maintenance and operations facility. Construction there indicates the real start toward work in the freeway right-of-way. That is because the VMF, combined with a 26-mile portion of track from there to the California state line, is meant to act as a test track for train certification, and that process is expected to take 4 years. When I was at the Sloan site on November 19th, a team had just met up and was starting work at the site. They were mainly working around this little fenced-off area, which looks like a temporary staging area. What I witnessed was a fencing company bringing a bunch of fencing onto the site. A couple of months ago on my video for my last trip to Vegas, commenter Mojave Sojourner left this remark: "Nothing has really happened until this fencing started going up. This seems like a reasonably accurate prediction. If so, if everything else in this comment comes to pass, it probably means true construction is still a few months off. This is a 900-acre area. Doing all of this work inside of 900 acres seems like it would take a while." Now, while we fly around the Sloan site, let's talk about what might be coming next year. Las Vegas station site work will continue. A station with no train does no good, but perhaps they're thinking to develop the land and get some cash flow going to help convince others to lend money to the project. They've said that construction in California will start early next year. We've heard that before, frankly, but we'll be watching for it for sure. If it does start, the major viaducts will be the first elements begun. 2 of those will be in Rancho Cucamonga, the first between the SoCal station site and Interstate 15, the second at Foothill Boulevard transitioning into the Interstate 15 median. There will be a viaduct at the southern end of the Cajon Pass in the middle of the junction between I-15 and I-215. And last but not least will be the one in Barstow that will fly over Main Street and BNSF's Southern Transcon. Like Las Vegas, we could also see activity at the station sites in Rancho Cucamonga, Hesperia, and Victor Valley earlier than expected. Work on the right-of-way will emanate in both directions from the Sloan VMF site and the Victor Valley station site. I do not anticipate any of that taking place in 2026, but if you want to watch for it, those are the places to do it. It's not going easy and it's not going well, but it is still going. I would say that 2026 is a crucial year, but really this project has faced a lot of challenges over the last 5 years, and it's still managed to find a path forward. 2026 could be the year everything needs to come together, or it could just be another year of delay to hang on through. The story of high-speed rail in the United States is never simple, but it's also never dull. As long as it's still advancing, I'll be out there in the desert braving the elements, in the Central Valley braving the cliff swallows, and hopefully soon on the NEC braving the new Acela 2 train sets. It's an exciting time. Don't lose hope. As a wise man once said, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. After all of that, I headed down the strip to where they're getting ready for the upcoming Formula 1 race, and then headed to my hotel before heading out the next day for Death Valley. That's going to lead into a video all about the storms in Brightline West territory and their after effects. Keep an eye out for that. So what do you think Brightline West's Vegas odds are? Let me know in the comments. I'll be in Las Vegas again soon. Check out that super thanks button below the video. Check out my poster store, and here's another big thanks to the Stu Crew Discord channel. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big, beautiful freeway.